Well, good morning. Welcome to Quarantining with Pastor Michelle, aka Alfalfa. Got that one little hair. Okay, there we go. I do hope, I don't know what is actually going on with that hair of mine. So I do hope all of you are doing well on this Saturday morning. Today is May 30th, and it is hard to believe that we are 2 days away from entering into June. It's hard to believe it's almost June. And summer definitely looks a little different, doesn't it? I'm not able to really share it, but the Holderness family on YouTube, they shared really funny video not too long ago, and it was to Britney Spears' Stronger song, and it was How Much Longer. And I loved it. There was one quote where they said, how much longer every day seems, I can't remember the exact quote, but it was something like, today is Juneteenth, or today is, I can't remember, the 12th. They made up words, and it was like, of June timber or something. Certainly the days do seem to run together. And as we go into the summer, it is hard to have such an empty calendar. I mean, I have a lot of stuff work-wise, online stuff, Zoom meetings and whatnot, but it is kind of sad, when you think about it is sad, not kind of. Vacations people wanted to take, and yeah, and a lot of vacations are being canceled. So if you're feeling just kind of let down, frustrated, disappointed, sad, scared, I'm right there with you. So, my friends, let's start with just a few moments, some inspiration from this book. For you today, my friends, I raise sacred smoke. For you who are troubled, confused, doubtful, lonely, afraid, addicted, unwell, bothered, or alone, I raise sacred smoke. For those of you in sorrow, grief, or pain, I raise sacred smoke. For those who work for people, for change, for spiritual evolution, for the upward and outward growth of our common humanity and the well-being of our planet, I raise sacred smoke. For those of you enjoying the glow of small or great triumphs, who live in love, faith, courage, and respect, I raise sacred smoke. And in the act of all this, I raise it also for myself. The scrim of cloud beyond the lake is purple, moving into pearl gray. I feel drawn to music, poetry, and a quiet idle by the fire. Writing begins there where the spirit moves, and I'm working, even when I'm not. So my friends, let's take a moment to just have some reflect prayer. Our Father and Mother who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. So I hope all of you are doing okay. No, these are just absolutely crazy times. Can I just say that out loud? I know today I'm going to be using the majority of my morning and some of my afternoon to finish up a sermon. I get to preach tomorrow. And tomorrow happens to be Pentecost Sunday. And so I just wanted to just point out kind of what a part of what my sermon, this is going to help me with my sermon, hopefully, just to kind of voice it out loud. We just have so much stuff going on in our world, so much crap, and you think about the riots and all that, and it does suck, that things are getting violent, but I'm speaking from a privileged position, and so as a white person, so I don't, and I just think it sucks. Doesn't it suck that, that things continue to happen? You think about all the stuff that happened during MLK, Martin Luther King Jr., and the things that he fought for, things that so many people have fought for through the years, and the fact that we're still struggling with this, it is just crazy to me. It's crazy to me that we are still struggling with with the violence and Black lives just being killed for no other reason sometimes than the fact that they're Black. And it breaks my heart. that we are still a country that struggles with this. That there are still people out there that see certain people less than because of their color, because of their sexual orientation, because of whatever. My sermon tomorrow is, I just wanted to say this out loud. It's the Pentecost. And the day of Pentecost is when the Spirit came down upon all flesh, and moved through them all to spread the gospel. And for me, the gospel is good news. And it's good news because it's good news for everyone. And in that gospel and what Jesus preached throughout his life and lived for is that, he pointed to this God who loves all people. All people are made in God's image. And so that's the kind of world we should be working toward. And that's basically what my sermon's about. Just about the good news of the gospel and how, and I'm talking about what the church still has to offer. The good news of God's love for all people. That is the underlying message that the church has had year after year. And so whenever there's anyone outside of the church, whenever there is someone that doesn't get to fully experience the church because of whatever, then church isn't doing what it should be doing. And so I just, where am I going with that? I do strongly believe that everyone is made in the image of God. Everyone is loved and deserving of complete love, and the Spirit moves through all people, all flesh. I don't think the Bible can be any clearer. All flesh. It doesn't just say white flesh. It doesn't just say straight flesh, all flesh. And so I just believe in that strongly. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about tomorrow in my sermon, because I do, that is a strong belief in mine that God works through every single one of us. And so I just pray for this country, that I pray for all of my friends of color, and because I can't even imagine I just pray for you, and I pray that I continue to be, a positive source, a positive force in this world, and I don't want to contribute to anything negative. I don't know where I'm going with that. So with that said, let's move to Hunger Games. That was a weird segue, but all right. So we have, let's see. So Peeta and Katniss are in the training room right now. They're the training area, and they're getting trained on fighting and all that. So let's continue on. And remember that Peeta and Katniss just met a girl that came in to serve them, and the girl had her tongue cut off, and they knew that they knew this girl. So, okay. Besides, the idea of the girl with her maimed tongue frightens me. She has reminded me why I'm here, not to model flashy costumes and eat delicacies, but to die a bloody death while the crowds urge on my killer. To tell or not to tell, my brain still feels slow from the wine. I stare down the empty corridor as if the decision lies there. Peeta picks up on my hesitation. Have you been on the roof yet? I shake my head. Cena showed me you can practically see the whole city. The wind's a bit loud, though, I said. I translate this into no one will ever hear us talking in my head. You do have the sense that we might be under surveillance here. Can we just go up? Sure, come on, says Peeta. I follow him to a flight of stairs that lead to the roof. There's a small dome-shaped room with a door to the outside. As we step into the cool, windy evening, I catch my breath at the view. The Capitol twinkles like a vast field of fireflies. Electricity in District 12 comes and goes. Usually we only have it a few hours a day. Often the evenings are spent in candlelight. The only time you can count on it is when they're airing the games or some important government message on television that it's mandatory to watch. But here, there would be no shortage, ever. Peeta and I walk to a railing at the edge of the roof. I look straight down to the side of the building to the street, which is buzzing with people. You can hear their cars, an occasional shout, and a strange metallic tinkling. In District 12, we'd all be thinking about bed right now. I asked Cena why they let us up here. Weren't they worried that some of the tributes might decide to jump right over the side, says Peeta. What'd he say? I ask. You can't. He holds out his hand into seemingly empty space. There's a sharp zap, and he jerks it back. Some kind of electric field throws you back on the roof. Always worried about our safety, I say. Even though Sina has shown Peeta the roof, I wonder if we're supposed to be up here now. So late and alone, I've never seen tributes on the training center roof before, but that doesn't mean we're not being taped. Do you think they're watching us now? Maybe, Peeta says. Come see the garden. On the other side of the dome, they've built a garden with flower beds and potted trees. From the branches hang hundreds of wind chimes, which account for the tinkling I heard. Here in the garden on this windy night, it's enough to drown out two people who are trying not to be heard. Peeta looks at me expectantly. I pretend to examine a blossom. We were hunting in the woods one day, hidden, waiting for game, I whisper. You and your father? He whispers back, No, my friend Gail. Suddenly all the birds stopped singing at once, except one, as if it were giving a warning call, and then we saw her. I'm sure it was the same girl. A boy was with her. Their clothes were tattered. They had dark circles under their eyes from no sleep. They were running as if their lives depended on it. For a moment I'm silent as I remember how the sight of this strange pair, clearly not from District 12, fleeing through the woods, immobilized us. Later we wondered if we could have helped them escape. Perhaps we might have concealed them if we moved quickly. Gail and I were taken by surprise, yes, but we're both hunters. We know how animals look at bay. We knew the pair was in trouble as soon as we saw them, but we only watched. The hovercraft appeared out of nowhere, I continued to Peeta. I mean, one moment the sky was empty and the next it was there. Didn't make a sound, but they saw it. A net dropped down on the girl and carried her up fast, so fast like the elevator. They shot some sort of spear through the boy. It was attached to a cable, and they hauled him up as well. But I'm certain he was dead. We heard the girl scream once. The boy's name, I think, then it was gone. The hovercraft vanished into thin air, and the birds began to sing again as if nothing had happened. Did they see you? I don't know. We were under a shelf of rock, I replied, but I do know there was a moment after the bird call. But before the hovercraft, where the girl had seen us. She locked eyes with me and called out for help, but neither Gail or I had responded. You're shivering, says Peeta. The wind and story have blown all the warmth from my body. The girl's scream, had it been her last? Peeta takes off his jacket and wraps it around my shoulders. I start to take a step back, but then I let him, deciding for a moment to accept both his jacket and his kindness. A friend would do that, right? They were from here, he asks, and he secures a button at my neck. I nod. They had that capital look about them, the boy and the girl. Where do you suppose they were going, he asks. I don't know that, I say. District 12 is pretty much the end of the line. Beyond us, there's only wilderness, if you don't count the ruins of District 13 that still smolder from the toxic bombs. They show it on TV occasionally just to remind us. Or why would they leave here? Hey, Mitch, I called the Avox as traitors. Against what? It could only be the capital, but they had everything here. No cause to rebel. I'd leave here, Peeta blurts out. Then he looks around nervously. It was loud enough to hear above the chimes. He laughs. I'd go home now if they let me, but you have to admit the food's prime. He's covered again. If that's all you heard, it would just sound like the words of a sacred tribute, not someone contemplating the unquestionable goodness of the capital. It's getting chilly. We better go in, he says. Inside the dome, it's warm and bright. His tone is conversational. Your friend Gail, he's the one who took your sister away at the reaping. Yes. Do you know him? I asked. Not really. I hear the girls talk about him a lot. I thought he was your cousin or something. You favor each other, he says. No, we're not related, I say. Peeta nods, unreadable. Did he come to say goodbye to you? Yes, I say, observing him carefully. So did your father. He brought me cookies. Peeta raises his eyebrows as if this is news, but after watching him lie so smoothly, I don't give this much weight. Really? Well, he likes you and your sister. I think he wishes he had a daughter instead of a house full of boys. The idea that I might ever have been discussed around the dinner table at the bakery fire, just in passing in Peeta's house, gives me a start. It must have been when the mother was out of the room. He knew your mother when they were kids, says Peeta. Another surprise, but probably true. Oh yes, she grew up in town, I say. It seems impolite to say she never mentioned the baker except to compliment his bread. We're at my door. I give back his jacket. See you in the morning then. See you, he says, and walks off down the hall. When I open the door, the red-headed girl is collecting my unitard and boots from where I left them on the floor before my shower. I want to apologize for possibly getting her into trouble earlier, but I remember I'm not supposed to speak to her unless I'm giving her an order. Oh, sorry. I was supposed to get those back to Sina. I'm sorry. Can you take them to him? She avoids my eyes, gives a small nod, and heads out the door. I set out to tell her I was sorry about dinner, but I know that my apology runs much deeper. That I'm ashamed I never tried to help her in the woods, that I let the capital kill the boy and mutilate her without lifting a finger. just like I was watching the games. I kick off my shoes and climb in under the covers of my clothes. The shivering hasn't stopped. Perhaps the girl doesn't even remember me, but I know she does. You don't forget the face of a person who was your last hope. I pull the covers up over my head as if this will protect me from the redheaded girl who can't speak, but I can feel her eyes staring at me, piercing through walls and doors and bedding. I wonder if she'll enjoy watching me die. All right. So, that ends that chapter. So, let's not end with Hunger Games. Let's end with a little bit of good news, shall we? All right. I don't want to speak ahead for Hunger Games. But let's end. So, yesterday we heard some good news. We saw a baby hippo, right? And so, here's another... here's some other good news to end with our show. Doc Henley earned his CNN hero status in 2009 for providing clean water to communities around the world. But when the pandemic struck, the former bartender pivoted his nonprofit, Wine to Water, I love that, to assist his fellow service workers who suddenly lost their jobs. Now, Doc is creating care packages for thousands of North Carolinians, filled with 40 meals, including fresh fruits and veggies, and household essentials like toilet paper. He's reached more than 32,000 people so far, and he doesn't plan on stopping, even as the state gradually reopens. Salute, Doc. So that's awesome. Getting away is not so easy. The comprehensive... So I guess a CNN travel quiz, that's something you can look at, is here to quench your wanderlust. The comprehensive quiz is a wishful way to kill some time and inspire the trip you'll take when all this is over. And so there is, if you wanted to look, hold on, let me see if I can do this. So there are 4 landmarks, as you can see. And if you want to go online, let me see, do you want to try this? Well, for those of you who care. Can you match a British meal to its outlandish name? Do you remember which national park has all those geysers? And did you know there are 4 other countries that have a red, white, and blue flag? Now you do, and now you can guess which country they belong to. And when you're done, you can look up the answers here. And then who knew? Space is no longer so lawless. This week, NASA quietly announced the Artemis Accords, a set of principles to ensure peace in space. Star Wars, this isn't. Among the measures are safety zones for astronauts from different countries and protections for the landmarks left on the moon during the 1969 Apollo 11 mission. No weapons either. Space has never sounded so neighborly. Here's hoping the next batch of astronauts minds their interstellar manners. And there's so many, I'm amazed at how much. Here's another girl that's doing some stuff. She's 10 years old. She's done more in a decade than most. She has started her own nonprofit. She sent art kits to more than 1,500 children in homeless shelters and foster care homes. Now, this is something that she's doing, and at 10 years old, that's awesome. And so here's the shameless animal video that I don't think I showed last week. So that kind of animal. Tamaduas are improbable creatures. They're just small anteaters covered in fur with tongues that extend more than a foot long. So this is a baby one hitched a ride on its mom's back while she slurps up lunch, which is appetizing insects. And now I'm itching for a piggyback ride. All right, so let's see. You want to see this? All right. It's always fun to see here we go. Ready? Okay, there we go. All right, that was not as, yeah. So, I did want to see if I can play, let me play just a few minutes of this song, because if it lets me.
So when you think about a Ganesh,
Yeah, that one. Hold on. All right. All right, I think they hit the nail on the target, or whatever that phrase is. How much longer? I think a lot of us are wondering that. And I think I'm going to quote this song tomorrow at church for sure. So, anyway, God bless you all. And no matter how much longer this whole crap show lasts, right? Just know that we are in this together. And we're stronger. I know we are stronger together than we are apart. So, God bless you all.